Thanks, Jean-Marc. Monday marked what many are calling the one-year strike anniversary for those Chronicle Herald journalists who have been walking the picket line for the past 12 months. Some of those journalists are single parents. Aside from the financial strain the strike has placed on their families, many worry about the impact it will have on their children.
Well, I guess seeing how it's the effect it's had on my daughter. Well, she worries very much about it, and she's in high school.
Not all of the striking journalists for the Chronicle Herald walk the picket line daily. Many write for the Local Express, an online news publication that was launched last May. Last January, the union representing the Herald journalists issued a strike vote after the paper's management proposed wage cuts, altered pensions, and issued layoffs. Now negotiations between the union and the Herald's management have resumed, and Sword says she hopes to see a fair deal soon. Millions of protesters from across the globe came together on Saturday to rally in support of the Women's March on Washington.
We all need somebody to lean on.
In Halifax, hundreds of people from across the Maritimes gathered at City Hall to show their support for women's rights and gender equality. They were also there to speak out against U.S. President Donald Trump. This woman, who lives in Boston, was visiting family in Nova Scotia. She was one of the many who gathered in protest.
You're a great nation. You have very good core values, and that is what we so appreciate about you people. We used to have them, and somewhere along the line we lost them.
Voting for some crazy because he's saying he's an outsider and that he's going to change everything, that's, I think, what happened. And I think that that could happen here, right?
This rally marks the beginning of a worldwide campaign by those who organized the Women's March on Washington in response to Trump's presidency. Organizers have now launched a new campaign, 10 actions for the first 100 days. The Midget X Hockey League, which gave students the chance to lace up their skates during the teachers' dispute, will continue despite the end of work to rule. The Midget X League was launched by Hockey Nova Scotia as a way to get young players back on the ice. Over 600 high school students, making up 33 teams, were back in the rink as of last Tuesday. No high school logos or crests could be worn by the players during the Midget X games. Although students were happy to finally be hitting the ice, they missed playing for their school team.
I'm ecstatic to be back with the Millwood League, or the high school league. It's not fun to not play for your school team. That's the whole point of it. That's what we take pride in.
It was unfortunate, especially for the grade 12s. Their grade 12 years, these are the big year for the senior guys, and for them to not get a chance to play hockey, it was heartbreaking, really.
Midget X will be meeting with the Nova Scotia School Athletic Federation to determine a plan for the rest of the season. The Nova Scotia Teachers Union reached a tentative agreement on Friday, which brought an end of work to rule. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was in Dartmouth last week to hear from concerned residents at the city's town hall meeting. He was visiting Nova Scotia as part of his cross-country tour.
One of the most important things about being Prime Minister is staying connected.
Thousands filled the Dartmouth Sportsplex to express their thoughts on social issues with the Prime Minister. Deborah Snow is an advocate for the use of marijuana to treat chronic illness. She wanted to share her thoughts on cannabis oil with the Prime Minister.
And the third time when I got re-diagnosed with breast cancer a year ago, I said no more. No more amputations, no more poisons, no more radiation, and I decided to choose the cannabis oil.
Snow says she hopes to see more cannabis dispensaries in Halifax. She also says Trudeau should remove the license requirement for those hoping to buy the drug in Canada. After gaining thousands of followers on social media through Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, the newly formed MSVU Geek Society is determined to keep that momentum going. Now they're planning their own version of HalCon. What began as a dream for executive member Megan Babin soon became a reality at Mount St. Vincent University once students began signing up. Now the group has 75 members on campus, and it wasn't long before they started planning a sci-fi convention for Halifax called Mysticon. Like HalCon, this convention will feature cosplayers, vendors, and local guests, but it will also be entirely organized by students. Executive member Megan Babin says the event is open to the public, but she hopes to see students from across the province attend.
We have really awesome guests. I'm really proud of our guests. Like we have Matt O'Coin, who was a really famous cosplayer, Nathan DeLuca, which was a really happy surprise, Tony White from Chapter House Comics and Captain Canuck.
Mysticon will take place at Mount St. Vincent University in March, and all ages are welcome. And that's the news. Back to you, Jean-Marc.